Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Odd Tandem Mailbag episode. Remember, a tandem is a bicycle built for two. The Odd Tandem is a community built for everyone. So during this episode, we encourage you to send in your questions, and this is where we answer them. It's a lot of fun, and I just want to give us another special shout out to Taylor Finney for doing the great intro music. Taylor, you're a legend. Congratulations on your marriage, but let's get on with our mailbag edition. Today we have Mark Payne on camera. He doesn't come on camera very much. He's going to be asking the questions, and of course, everybody knows Jensie. He's rip-roaring and ready, fresh as a daisy because he's not on the back of the motorcycle anymore. But let's get this mailbag episode started. Mark, what do you say?
Yeah, sounds good. Now, there's a lot of questions about you guys, so I'm going to start with one of them, which is from Brazil. It came via Instagram. Apologies if I butcher your name, but I believe this is from Jose Ernesto Rojas Santos, who sent us this. And he said, I know that you guys were roommates when you raced together. How was it to share a room? Also, do you think Pogacar will achieve the numbers of victories that Eddie Merckx did in the past?
I guess if I start, take the easy question first. The second part. Yes, he will win 34 or 35 stages in the Tour de France, but he will not reach the overall number of wins because Eddie Merckx has, 500 wins? I don't think that anybody can achieve that anymore in these modern days of cycling. Roaming with Bobby was awesome because he was the complete opposite of me. So, when it came to organize the suitcase, I was more like Southern Italia. We do it domani, tomorrow. And Bobby, no, we do it right now. Now we get off our beds and organize and put the numbers on for the next day. So Bobby felt like a rebel if he put on a number after dinner. I put on a number every time in the bus, racing to the start. So we were so opposite, and that's why we are basically so much in love with each other.
Yeah, I'll answer that. I have the same opinion as Jens does on Mr. Pogacar. I mean, what an amazing athlete. We're so blessed to be able to watch him during this generation of many, many, many amazing cyclists. But yeah, rooming with Jens was funny. We were opposite. We were the odd tandem, and that was kind of the inspiration around the name of this of our new podcast. But the funniest thing with Jens was he was so into playing his little Game Boy that he'd be sweating just as much after the race, sitting there in bed or after dinner, than anything. And one of my favorite frustrations that I had to hear him communicate to me was one time he's playing this game where he has to create like this like village, and they have to make money to build up the village. And he had something like a hot dog stand, and he couldn't figure out why his hot dog stand wasn't making any money. And he worked on that for at least a day or two. All I could hear is like, why aren't they selling hot dogs? Do these people don't like hot dogs? Like, everybody likes hot dogs. I know I do. And he finally, after 2 days, realized that he had positioned the cart to face a wall so that no one could actually get a hot dog or buy a hot dog in the virtual world. So those were the sort of, things that we had to overcome as a roommate. But yeah, it was good times, except for when we had no air condition. We had to keep the windows open, and then the mosquitoes got in. That was no fun at all.
Yeah. Just on that Pogacar thing, he's got 15, I think, stage wins, or 14 stage wins.
14 now, I believe. Yeah, 14 now.
I mean, he might be 15 by the time this goes out. But yeah, he's averaged 3 stage wins for every tour he's been to. So that would mean he'd need to sustain that level for 10 years. I mean, do you think that's possible? Or do you think is someone going to sneak in and take those from him?
I think that's going to be kind of hard. I mean, the longevity of a stage racer is a little bit different than the longevity of a sprinter. That sprinter only has to be on for that stage, when the GC rider has to take those risks and be at the top form for the whole entire race. So I don't think that Mr. Pogacar is going to be racing for 15, 18, 21 seasons. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get to that 36, that magical 36 stage win that Sir Mark Cavendish got this year.
All right, here is a record he's going to beat this year already. I believe Eddie Merckx is holding the record of days in the leader's jersey, Giro Italia and Tour de France combined at 37. Pogacar now is, I believe, at 33 or 34 days. So if he doesn't lose the jersey, he will end up with 38, 39 days combined in the leader's jersey. Just, folks, each of these races has 21 stages. If Pogacar ends up with maybe 39 or 40 days in the leader's jersey within the same year, that basically means in both races he had to take the jersey on the first day almost and keep it the entire way. That is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the amount of kit that he has? Because they do drop off a really cool bag of swag, right? Not to mention the lion.
Well, I guess, Bobby, we have like a little closet with that sort of trophies. Pogacar probably got an entire garden shed full of leaders.
He's got a mansion. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it feels like we should all get as fans, we should all get a yellow jersey just for supporting him. But yeah, we'll come to that. There'll be more questions about Tadej later on. There's another question about you guys from Robin, who posted this on Facebook. She said, how did you guys both first meet? I know you were teammates eventually, but I'd love to hear the story from the beginning and how your friendship progressed to today. So I guess similar to the first one, but also kind of, what was the first time you sort of bumped into each other in team kit?
1998 Tour of Pays Basque.
Was it Pyrenees, Col de la République, in the rain and snow?
I am remembering Pays Basque. You were jumping around like a headless chicken trying to get into the breakaway. And we may have raced Pyrenees before, but I don't really remember having much to say. Maybe we said hello. But I came up to you after you got caught like the third time, and I just kind of looked at you and said, man, relax. We know you're a good bike racer. You don't have to be in every single breakaway. And you said something like, I don't have a contract next year, or I want a better contract next year. And then boom, you just took off again and went into the breakaway. And that's where I was just like, I kind of like this guy. He's got that killer attitude. So that's my recollection, but I am getting older, so I'd be interested to hear yours if it's different.
I remember the exact same conversation, the exact same words. Because just for folks to understand, I had a 1-year contract for 17,200 euros per year before taxes. So by the end of that year, I borrowed 2,000 euros from my parents so I could go with, back then, my girlfriend, now my wife Stephanie, and my son Mark. We could have a tiny little holiday because I had no money left at all. So yes, but I thought it was that rainy, cold stage in Pyrenees where there was snow on top of Col de la République, and they shortened it a little bit. And you would ask, I know you're a good rider, so just stop being nervous and jumping around. And then I said, yeah, but hey, I only have a 1-year contract for shit money. I have no option. I need to perform.
It could have been, but the exchange and the respect right then and there set us up for a lifetime of friendship. So you never know how you're gonna meet your other part of the odd tandem.
So there's a few people that are kind of gaming the system, which I kind of like here. They're asking 2-part questions. So we've got another one here from Marie Laferriere, who says, I have a 2-part mailbag question. First, I'm wondering about the warm-up and cool-down, spinning the riders do on the rollers and how long they do it for. So, when they're before a stage or after a stage. And second, if you could estimate the total additional distance the riders are pedaling throughout the tour between the warm-ups, the cool-down, the rest days, extra recon, how many extra kilometers do you think they're doing over the total?
I actually did once the calculations, 21 times 15 minutes cool-down. They basically cover an entire extra stage. So it's 10 times 15 minutes, 150 minutes. 21 times, it's 315 minutes. It's 5 hours 15 they spend just on cooling down. That's an entire extra stage for the cool down. And I believe if there's a long enough neutral zone, they don't really warm up that much. If you have 5 to 10 kilometers to warm up, spin the legs a little bit, that's good enough for warm up. But cool down, they do all the time 15 minutes. That's what I know. But Bobby, you were a coach. What's your point of view here?
Yeah, remember, we didn't really do that when we were racing. We just jumped out of the bus. You had your second or third coffee, and we hit the line and took off. But now, like you said, with the neutral starts, like, for example, today was a very long neutral start. It was like 30 minutes. So I don't think anybody's warming up for that. But if you wanted to average out, I'd say 15 minutes for the warm up, 10 minutes for the warm down, and then, another 30 minutes. So I'm saying add an hour every stage. So that's 21 hours more that you're actually riding your bike with that warm up, warm down, and then the neutral. I think that would be a very good guesstimate.
Just on that, following up, what was your philosophy for rest days? Because I was trying to remember the ride. I've just looked it up. Jayco Alula's Chris Harper rode 136.6 kilometers on the rest day. I mean, what would you consider a good distance to make sure your form doesn't
Hang on, the rest day when he didn't start this morning, he rode that distance yesterday and then didn't start?
No. This is the first rest day.
Ah, okay.
Ooh, for me, I just wanted to remember, Jensie, we only had one rest day back when we were racing in the Tour. Now they have two. Maybe towards the end of our career we had two, but I don't really remember that. My philosophy was, kind of stay on the same schedule, go out and do like a minimum 2 hours, kind of keep the system going a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there were many teammates and competitors that would just stay in bed the whole day and be just fine. So I think it's just the way that the individual has to kind of process that day. But the rest day in the Tour, I'll say it again, is not a rest day. You got your family there, you got some friends, you got the interviews that you have to do, you got, the osteopath, you got the massage therapist, you do have that, for me, that 2 hour ride. So those days used to pass pretty quickly. But I do know some guys that would go out and like do some intervals just to keep the motor humming, but I've never heard of anybody doing 136 odd kilometers. To me, that's a little sick.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's just too far. And I guess, Bobby, you probably would agree. The best part about the rest is the evening before. The day's work is done, and in your mind you go, now we sit here at dinner and I have an entire day tomorrow easy. On the rest, you already feel the panic. Oh my God, the stage is coming. I can always see it on the horizon. So half of the day is already done or ruined because of the fear of the next day. I believe, 2 hours to 3 hours would be a good time or distance. And quite a few people actually do some intervals, because the one thing you don't want is your body on the rest day shuts down and goes into recovery mode. And your body starts to believe, oh, this race is over, I go in recovery mode. Then it is incredibly painful to wake your body up out of that recovery mode to start the engine again. That is so painful. You don't want that.
And one other thing that I remember about those rest days is that you just prayed to God that you were in the hotel alone, that there wasn't 3 or 4 other teams there, because then you get back from your ride and you see that the other team, that their bikes aren't there yet. That means they're out training more. And then you're looking out the window like, are they back yet? Are they back yet? So like that added to the stress of seeing, guys do less or especially more. Like, should I have done more? Should I have done less? So the rest day at a hotel by yourself, those were the best. And to be able to see your wife and kids come up for a little bit was always fun.
Great. This is from Kim Wrinkle. She says, with the improvements in bike technology, Bobby, there's a question directed at each of you here, so this is unusual. But with the questions in bike technology and aerodynamics, what would you do differently if you were racing a time trial as a modern professional? So I'll ask you that one first.
Listen, if it's a tricycle or if it's a $25,000 time trial bike, 3D painted sort of thing, you just got to get on and pedal it. And I'll quote our friend here, Jensie. when we were in a training camp one day, he comes up alongside because we were like split into groups, and he starts yelling at us because we were in the second group. He was in the second group. We were in the front group. And he comes up and yells at us, "See those little things on the bottom of your cranks? Those are called pedals. You need to push them." So that's what it boils down to. I mean, bike technology, what would I change? I mean, I guess I'd be going a heck of a lot faster, but, the effort is still there. You've got to be dialed in. You've got to have your fueling, squared away. You got to do the proper warm up.
I suppose what Kim's probably asking there is what tech is available now that wasn't available now, or the knowledge of stuff. What would you want on your bike?
Could I jump in here? I would probably change bigger chain ring and the sprocket more in the middle of the cassette, so have less friction and a better chain line. Because back then we would sometimes do TTs with a 5311, which is not the most effective gear. So I would then rather, with the knowledge of today, I would rather have a 60 chain ring, but use a 14 or 15 on the cassette behind. I think that would be the first thing I would change.
Yeah, I know you guys gave me a little bit of a grief for this because I had the asymmetric chain rings, but I had, as a normal time trial, I had a 54 and then I had a 56. And with the chain ring, the way that the asymmetrics work, a 54 would basically turn into like a 56 over the power side of the pedal. And then the 56 would like turn into a 58 over, in the biggest part of that arch. So I was kind of ahead of my time, I guess, but I never would have ridden a 60, 65, 67 chain ring. But two things I would love to have that these guys have now. The 3D printed handlebar cockpit, like made to your specifications, your arms. Remember, Jensie, everybody had the same time trial setup, and then you had your pads higher, you had your pads lower, they'd go in, they'd go out. But like, I would just want to be absolutely locked into that position, having not to even think where my hands go. And then the other thing would be a bomb skin suit that these guys are riding these days. They're so much faster than the ones that we used to use. They were stock. You got those skin suits in January or maybe even December at the first training camp, and they didn't really look at like, does this fit you? Because if it fits you in December, it probably was going to be a little loose in July, right? But it's not like we had any difference. And I have the skin suit that I used in the Olympics in 2004 framed, and I look at that because it's in my office quite often, and I think, how much faster would I have gone if I had a different skin suit? So yeah, those two things I'm so jealous of.
Actually, just the other day, I cleaned my my cycling corner in my house, and I came across the TT suit from my hour record, and I pulled it up, and it was literally that long. And my wife and we looked at me, that is made for an embryo, like a fetus. How would you ever fit it in there? I said, yeah, I did wear that thing for an hour. So I know what you mean, Bobby. They get so much better these days when they custom made and tailor made. They are so much better and faster.
Did you do that thing that old brides do where they try on the wedding dress? Did you sort of try and see if you could fit in it still, Jensie?
Not anymore. I know my limits.
And the second part of that question, which is directed at you, Jensie, what are the best tactics to successfully make the breakaway in a race? And how do you encourage the others in the breakaway to contribute to the efforts of the group? This came up as well at the weekend. I don't know if you heard, there was several people talking about Rui Costa, who's famous for not contributing in a breakaway as much as others and getting on people's nerves. So how do you deal with that?
Making the break, there's two strategies. You be smart and show patience, and you try to do one big all-in effort to either create or catch the right one. Or what I did, you just basically try to cover every single move, and then just by the law of averages, you must catch the right one because you almost covered all of them. That costs a lot more power, but I felt it's better or safer for me. Despite the fact I smile a lot and come across friendly in racing, I had times where I was not so friendly. So I actually did yell quite a few times in very clear words to my people in the breakaway. And if you wouldn't listen, I go, look, I'm just going to attack you until we both going to get caught. I drop you or I fall off my bike because I'm tired. Either we work together in this or this will be war. And I don't care about the outcome. I just want you stop. Just want to stop you from having success after basically playing with me. I'm not saying that was right or wrong or whatever, but that was the way I functioned.
I'll chime in a little bit here. I know I'm speaking for myself and pretty much every teammate that I ever had, that we were so happy that Jens would get into the breakaways because that meant that we didn't have to. But those poor souls that would get into the breakaway with him and take him pull for pull or try to take him pull for pull, we're back there laughing. We're like, this guy is going to destroy you. And there was one race in particular where I couldn't fathom, because you did this year after year, Tour of Pays Basque, the morning stage, that there would be 2 or 3 guys that would think that they could beat the Jensie in a short stage of Pays Basque. It was normally like 70K, but it was full gas the whole time. And we're back there laughing like, these poor guys. Jens is just going to rip their legs off, and every single time he did. But, they thought they could, match your watts and match your tactics, but somehow you succeeded pretty much every time in those short stages in Pays Basque.
I remember one of the biggest compliments I ever got was from Charlie Vigelius. We talked about the Giro Italia. We were both racing, and Charlie asked, hey, so he was with Liquigas back then, the Italian team. I said, so what's the job in the team for him? And then I was only me left. And then Charlie said, so what would be your job? I'm like, I guess my job is just to look menacing. And he goes, so you are basically the nuclear warhead of cycling. Everybody's happy to have you, but nobody wants to set it off. So it's like, hey, you guys better behave or we send Jens out your way. And I was just laughing so hard when he said, you're the nuclear warhead in this game. Biggest compliment ever.
Another person who's getting a lot of compliments at the moment is Tadej. So we've got another Tadej question. This is from John Rikers. John Richards. He says, I have the strong feeling that Tadej could pull off the triple this year. And bearing in mind that John sent this message before the tour started, so props on getting your prediction right on where everything was falling. By the triple, he means the Giro, the Tour, and the Vuelta. Team Jumbo-Visma did it last year, and I think that the stacked UAE roster, Tadej could win all 3 Grand Tours. It's possible that he won't be very challenged at the Tour. Well, I think there's still a little bit to go. And he certainly has the ability to retain top form over an entire season. What do you guys think? And it's worth pointing out that Tadej himself has said he's 99% not going to the Vuelta. But
that question kind of went in a different direction than I thought you were going to say as far as the triple goes. But no doubt, I think he could do that. Obviously, no one has ever done that before, and Tadej seems to make a habit of doing things that people haven't done before. I thought you were going to talk about the triple with the World Championships. I'm talking about him pulling the quadruple. The Giro, the Tour, the Olympics, and the World Championships. I think that would be even more impressive than going to the Vuelta and winning all 3 Grand Tours in a row. With everything that he's done so far, the races that he's won, to be able to win the Tour and then win the Olympics and win the World Championships, wow, like that will never, ever, ever, ever be done again. So
I'm so glad the question came across, because I did raise it 2 days ago with my German colleagues here on Eurosport Germany. I said, if ever it would be now. He already got basically 2 of them in the pocket. I mean, we agree that it looks very, very likely that Tadej is gonna win the Tour. But then you would have to drop the Worlds and the Olympics. Forget about that. Go back on a training camp, maintain the form to win the Vuelta. But if anybody wants or could, it would be him. It crossed my mind more than once that he could do it. And if Tadej also seemed to be having an interest in different challenges and different ideas. So also, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes maybe after Tour de France 3 or 4, goes, forget about that. I want to win Milan-San Remo, and Roubaix. I want to win all the races in the calendar. So I guess, yes, it is possible for him, and it would be possible this year. But I think the season planning has gone so far that I think he is basically tied into his national team for the Olympics and for the World. So maybe not this year.
I got a question for you then, Jensie. What would you rather win, the Olympic road race or the overall GC in the Vuelta?
In Tadej's position, I would
No.
choose the Vuelta, actually. Having already 2-1, all three in 1 year, you would be bigger than Eddie Merckx and Bernard Hinault and Jacques Anquetil together. So, yeah, I guess that would be my goal.
So I have to disagree with you there. I would say winning the Olympics is more important than winning the Vuelta, because anywhere you go in the world and you say that you're Olympic champion, everyone knows what that means. If you go anywhere in the world outside of the diehard cycling fans and said that you won the Vuelta, they'll be like, what's that? And then they'll just move on. I think the Olympics holds that much prestige, and but that's just my opinion. So,
Good
again,
point.
odd tandem.
Well, I just wondered on that. I think my perspective on this is that I think it's a problem with the calendar. I don't know how you feel about this, that if this was 2025 and there was the World Championship were at the end of the year, I think Tadej's probably looking at it and going, I'm probably not going to win the time trial against Ghana unless it's a really steep course. And then I think he says, yes, I will do that. But I think he still looks, the Slovenia team, let's not forget, they're brilliant. They've got, Matej Mohoric is going as well, who's going to be a great gun for the road race. But I think he still thinks he can win the road race. And I still think he looks at the time trial and goes, why not? I'm in incredible form. And I think he's probably thinking, I don't want to jeopardize that and do another training block for the Vuelta. But if he wins those, I still think he goes, why not? That's the 1%. I think that's the thing that he said. He said he's 99% out. I think the 1% out is if he comes back from the Olympics with a gold medal around his neck, he's going, what could possibly go wrong? Because then I don't think the World Championships matters as much.
Exactly. He's going to sit there with his little, flowers around his head and just having the first beer after press conference and goes, like you say, you know what can go wrong? I won Olympics, I might as well go. So yes, there's still a small chance it would be spectacular. So folks, there was the questions we had for today for our mailbag episode. Absolutely fantastic questions. You could see that Bobby, Mark and me, we had some good laughs memorizing some of the old days of us and speculating a little bit if Tadej Pogacar tries to win the Vuelta a España as well. So thank you very much for sending these questions, and please keep doing that.
And don't forget, after this mailbag episode, look forward to our episode coming out on Friday with Josh Tarling. Just signed a new 3-year deal at Ineos Grenadiers. Stay tuned.